troopresource.org, trying to put 1,000 skills into every troop's backpack.
Hello and welcome to Chef-Boy-Hardie's edition of Troop Resource Cooking Show. Today we're going to be talking about a trip menu that you can prepare at home, breaded chicken cutlets. The scouts can make it, and for instance, if the trip gets canceled, you can freeze this beforehand on say a Tuesday or Wednesday night before the trip. If it gets canceled, it's in your freezer, you can use it somewhere else. The first thing that we're going to need to do before we cut the chicken breasts into smaller cutlets is we're going to need to make sure that we have a sharp knife. You want to start with a good knife. This is a J.A. Henkel's knife. You can have another brand that has to be a top quality knife with a sharp edge. To make sure it's a sharp edge, you need one of these ceramic sharpening sticks. They're about $4 or $5. You can get them just about anywhere. I got this one at Harbor Freight. It was a great deal, and that's the box to look for. Alright, so you want to pull the knife back, make sure that there's no one behind you. Pull back 1, 2, 3, 10 times. 10 times, and now the knife is sharp and it's ready to cut the chicken breast. Okay, so now we've sharpened our knife. We're ready to take a boneless chicken breast and we're going to slice through it and make thinner cutlets out of it. I'm going to set this off to the side. So, the way you do this is you press down on the chicken breast. You have your very sharp knife. Slowly pull the knife back towards you, and you will see that sharp knife go about halfway through. Peel it back. This is so as to not get your fingers. You take it and just saw through it, and if you're done, you have one thinly sliced chicken breast. Place that on a plate. Do the same thing. Draw back towards you with the sharp knife. You will go about halfway through, peel that up, and then just slice down through. And you have 2 cutlets. And now probably you will only get 4 cutlets out of it. This is probably the most difficult part. You gotta come and draw back through. Do that one more time. And you will find that your last 2 pieces, this one sort of has a hole through it. I'm gonna put that down there. That's not fatal. That's fine. This one's a little stringy. It happens. There is usually a piece of fat. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. That actually came off real nice. You trim the pieces of fat, the pieces of cartilage off the bottom piece. And that's just going to make it unappetizing. So you just kind of trim the corners. There's a little bit of tendon over here. It's white, it's chewy, and it's unappetizing. And so, out of 1 chicken breast, you'll see you got 4 pieces of cutlet. And again, if you have scouts, younger scouts, 10 to say 12, you can probably get away with 3 scouts per chicken breast. The older scouts, obviously, you're going to go 2. The older scouts are going to eat 2 of these. All right, so next we're going to move on to seasoning our breadcrumbs and making an egg wash. Okay, so we've cut our chicken cutlets nice and thin. We've set them aside on a plate. They're in the refrigerator for now, or they could be left out on the counter. This is going to be a fast process that you're cooking. Next, I recommend that you put in about 2 cups of breadcrumbs into a bowl like that. That's a breading bowl. Next to it, is your egg mix bowl, and I would actually recommend 3 eggs cracked in there just to be on the safe side. So I would take 1 cup of regular 4-season or whatever seasoned breadcrumbs that you prefer, and I would put them into the breading bowl. I would then take another 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs. I find that it gives the panko gives a great texture, not flavor, but just texture to it. And after that, we have our breadcrumbs. We have 1 cup of regular, 1 cup of panko. We're going to add seasoning to this. Seasoning will be to taste. This is my own private herb garden brand. It's a mix of tarragon, oregano, parsley, sage, rosemary, and I would put, to those 2 cups, I would put 2 teaspoons of this private flavoring. Next, we have pepper that I ground from a mill, and here's your peppercorns that you're going to need to refill. I would put about half a tablespoon, that's my personal preference, right in there. And then next, I have, just for ideas, there is it's a little bit of orange peel. If you like orange chicken and you like the orange flavor, you can put about half a tablespoon in there. If not, the next thing you want to put in is salt. Now, this is Himalayan pink salt. It doesn't have to be fancy salt. It could be anything. Mrs. Dash, I do put Mrs. Dash in there as well. And then if you want to spice it up a little bit, there's some turmeric. You could put smoked paprika in there, just about anything you like. But the idea is to now season the breadcrumbs. And I'm going to reach back and get myself a spoon, or a fork rather. And I'm just going to mix that all up before we start dipping the chicken into the eggs. You see, just mix it around, the salt, the pepper, everything. And you're going to have a nicely seasoned chicken cutlet. All right, so next we're going to crack a couple eggs. So a lot of you have seen the chef who does that one-handed, and that's great. It gets the job done, and if you know what you're doing, you don't get egg shells in there. But for the amateur, it's okay to crack it and split it with 2 hands and throw that shell away. It's better to be careful than to waste your time picking eggs out of your mix. Next, you need a fork. You want to whisk that up. Just like that, a little circular motion. Whisk might be better. I always use a fork. All right, and it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I throw that into the sink. Now, here's the technique. This is my chicken hand. Goes in there. I don't care about getting my fingers with raw egg because it's not going to touch the breading. You pull it out, you let it drip a little bit, and then you drop it in there. All right? Use the spoon. The spoon is most important here to get the breadcrumbs from underneath onto the top. And once you've seen that the breadcrumbs are on, all of it, you're done. And you just repeat this process and you're done. Alrighty, so we have our chicken. It's ready to go down here. And we have a frying pan to cook the chicken in. I prefer some high quality olive oil. You can use whatever vegetable oil. Doesn't have to be a whole bunch of oil. You just need enough to cover the bottom, like so. And you place onto your burner. You don't want it too hot. You know when it's the right temperature when you take a little bit of water and you throw it in there and it starts to sizzle just a little bit. You don't want it popping and splattering. You just want a little tiny sizzle. You don't want it too hot. You want the chicken to cook relatively slow. but you do want to start with hot oil. You don't want to put it into cold oil. That's a mistake. Point is, if you cook that chicken too quickly, it's not going to cook evenly on the inside, and on the outer layer it's going to be dry. Chicken wants to be cooked slowly. In my opinion, that's when it tastes the best. And so right about now, I think we are close to the right temperature. We're going to find out in a second. So I run the water, I get my hand a little wet. And it is right now starting to just sizzle just a little bit. So we're at the right temperature. Again, adjust your temperature, keep an eye on it. Make sure that when you put the chicken in, you should hear just a little sizzle. You don't want to, again, you don't want to see it dancing and flipping too much. All right. And again, wash your hands after you've touched the raw chicken. Safe food handling, use soap. You want to do about, you can use your timer here, 3 minutes to 4 minutes on each side. You'll know when it's done when the breading turns a golden brown. This can go in the refrigerator for a couple days, but I would recommend on a trip you put it into the freezer and take it on the trip frozen in a cooler. It will thaw out, and alternately, even if it's still frozen on one of the colder trips, once they put this on the griddle, it'll defrost relatively quickly. And all they're doing is reheating. So all totaled, it should take about 6 minutes to 8 minutes for these to cook for them. All right, this one's ready to be flipped. Here is the perfect color. It's golden with some darker brown. You just flip that one, and 4 minutes on this side. And there's the final color, and it looks perfect. Look at that. There you go. Mmm. And they can make this for you as well. It doesn't just have to be for trips. So, from Chef Boy-Hardie's kitchen, I'm saying bon appetit.
TroopResource.org, trying to put 1,000 skills into every troop's backpack.